In September 1878, the River Thames carried more than ships. It carried the weight of a growing city. Industry, trade, and daily life all moved along its surface, binding London together through water that rarely stopped flowing. To those who travelled upon it, the river felt familiar, routine, safe. But things were about to take a tragic turn.
Welcome to Literally Victorian with your host, Matthew Lee Hanson.
Hello and welcome to Literally Victorian. My name is Matthew and I'm glad to be with you once again. Now, on the evening of the 3rd of September 1878, the Princess Alice was making her return journey to London. She was a pleasure steamer, a vessel designed not for long voyages, but for short excursions. On board were families, couples, and groups who had spent the day away from the city, enjoying what the river offered. The mood was ordinary, relaxed. There was no sense that anything was about to change. As the Princess Alice moved along the Thames, another vessel approached from the opposite direction. The Bywell Castle was a collier, a large ship carrying coal. Heavier, less manoeuvrable, and moving with a different purpose entirely. Both vessels were visible to one another. Both had time to act. What happened next remains difficult to fully explain. Signals were exchanged, or perhaps misunderstood. Courses were altered, but not in the way that was needed. Each ship moved, but not enough, and not in time. The collision was sudden. The Bywell Castle struck the Princess Alice with force, tearing into her side. There was no gradual realization, no warning that allowed passengers to prepare. One moment, the journey continued. The next, it was over. The Princess Alice broke apart and began to sink almost immediately. Hundreds of people were thrown into the river, and it was here that the true horror of the disaster became clear. The Thames in 1878 was not the river we see today. It was heavily polluted, a mixture of sewage, industrial waste, and refuse from a rapidly expanding city. What flowed through it was not simply water, but the byproduct of Victorian life itself. To fall into it was to enter something far more dangerous than it appeared. Many of those on board could not swim. Others were disorientated by the suddenness of the collision. Darkness was beginning to fall. Debris filled the water. Voices called out. Some answered, many lost. Rescue efforts began quickly. Nearby vessels responded. Boats were lowered. A crew from the Bywell Castle and others attempted to pull survivors from the river, but the scale of the disaster and the speed at which it unfolded limited what could be done. By the end of the night, more than 600 people had lost their lives. It remains one of the deadliest inland maritime disasters in British history. In the days that followed, the river returned what it could. Bodies were found along the banks of the Thames. Many could not be identified. The connection between those lost and those waiting was not always restored. Public reaction was immediate. Shock, grief, and a growing awareness of something that had long been ignored. The condition of the Thames, the disaster, did not create the problem, but it exposed it. For years, the river had absorbed the waste of the city. Sewage flowed into it. Industry relied on it. And while its condition was known, it had been accepted as an unfortunate consequence of progress. Now, it could not be ignored. An inquiry was held. Attention focused on the actions of both vessels. Why had the collision occurred? Were signals misunderstood? Could it have been avoided? Blame was assigned, though not without debate. As with many disasters, the precise sequence of decisions remained uncertain. But beyond the question of responsibility, something else had changed. The river itself had become part of the story. The tragedy of the Princess Alice was not only that a ship had been lost, it was that it had been lost there, within the capital, within sight of its people, in water that reflected the consequences of its own growth. In the years that followed, efforts to improve sanitation in London gained urgency. The Thames began, slowly, to change, but the memory of that night remained. A journey that began in leisure, a return that never arrived. A moment where the familiar became dangerous. The River Thames continues to flow through London. Ships still move along it. Life continues around it. But beneath that movement lies a history that is not always visible. A reminder that even in places we consider known, there can exist conditions we do not fully understand. And that sometimes, without warning, those conditions can become part of the story. Next time we'll be taking a closer look at working class children in the Victorian era. So until then, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.